Hello and welcome to Spectrum on Radio 1. I'm Edmond, Kizito, your host. Tonight we reflect on the electioneering process in Uganda to try and understand how political parties are coping with the outcomes and how they are preparing for future processes. The outcomes of the 2011 presidential and parliamentary elections still form a big part of debate across the country as voters and political actors continue to analyze the outcome as well as making plans for future polls. The NRM won the presidential vote and also retained its majority in parliament and at local government level as well, making it more dominant than previously on the political scene. Many opposition actors have rejected the outcome of the elections, citing different reasons. Already, some former presidential candidates, led by Dr. Kizito, are calling for peaceful demonstrations. Besigye today claimed no single candidate attained a majority vote, insisting that there ought have been a rerun between him and Museveni. One presidential candidate has, however, indicated that the elected president must be recognized as a matter of course, although she insisted that her own performance did not actually mean defeat for her. Press reports have already indicated that this candidate has launched her 2016 candidates. Another political party, the FDC, is already facing a succession battle even before the term of its flag bearer, Dr. Besigye, expires. According to the FDC constitution, Dr. Besigye must serve as party president until 2015, but some party stalwarts want him to step aside so a new leader is elected to start preparing for the next general election 5 years from now. Yesterday, MP Regan Okumu blamed FDC's loss in both the presidential and parliamentary polls on poor coordination by the party headquarters, as well as internal intrigue that saw some key party leaders working against candidate Besigye. So tonight we look at what the 2011 elections meant to the two parties, that is the Uganda Federal Alliance and the Forum for Democratic Change, and how they are coping with this outcome. We'll also try to understand what steps the two parties are taking to move forward, given the experiences in the just concluded 2011 elections. Our guests tonight, Honorable Betty Namisango Kamya, former presidential candidate on the ticket of the Uganda Federal Alliance. You're most welcome, Honorable Kamya.
Oh, thank you, Edmond, and may I take the occasion to greet the listeners out there. I am very happy to be here once again, and I will also thank very, very much everybody that made the campaigns for me very productive.
And of course, it's good to see you after the grueling campaign period, 3 months on the road, and the health hurdle that you faced towards the end.
Yeah, it wasn't easy, but life is a hard road to travel.
Well, our second guest is Honorable Professor Maurice Ogenga Latigo, Vice President of the FDC in charge of Northern Uganda. You're most welcome, Professor Latigo.
Thank you, Edmond, and good evening, listeners.
Honorable Kamya, how would you characterize the just concluded presidential and parliamentary elections?
Generally, I would say that they are very unfortunate, because I am one of the people who was willing to give the EC the benefit of the doubt, in spite of all the history behind it all. But I mean, what is happening, what is unfolding before the world, what is unfolding before us is incredible. Leaves a lot to be desired. It's a shame. Ugandans are being shortchanged.
Explain that to us a little bit. What do you mean shortchanged? The campaign ran full throttle, 90 days. The elections were held.
Yeah, but remember, there's a history. There is a history to the campaigns and to the elections. The elections did not just happen on the 18th, and the campaigns did not start from nomination day, 25th and 26th of October. There is a history, a long history. And the history begins with someone saying, I will never give handover power to those people. Those statements are still, fresh in our minds. And a certain gentleman said, I killed my animal, I will eat it. Whether you like it or not, I will eat my animal. I mean, those are part of the history that built up this campaign. Of course, there are always threats of, I will also go back to the bush, I'll go back to the bush. There's the history of militarization, deliberate militarization of the police. We saw policemen wearing, when you can't distinguish between a police uniform and an army uniform anymore, when you can't distinguish between a police officer and an army officer, there is a history to this election, and of course the incredible amassing of money prior to the elections, all these were used before the elections. And then of course what we saw unfolding during the elections themselves, the ballot stuffing, the money, the heavy presence of the military on the street. That's why I'm saying the people of Uganda were shortchanged.
Well, you mentioned a couple of things. Let's pick on the words they spoke. Maybe some people will say this is only politicking. When someone uses words, they have the freedom to choose whatever words they use. One former president kept saying, those bandits, and I'm picking on his accent, those are bandits, we shall follow them there and leave them there. Those were words that never came to pass. Why would you worry about such words?
Oh, following those bandits to the bush cost us 5 years and a lot of blood. It's not just words.
Right.
It costs us 5 years of war, lot of blood. Luero and the country is soaked in blood. Not to mention all the losses that go with the war, the widows, the orphans, the people that will never regain what they should have got at the beginning of their lives. They lived as orphans, they never went to school, where they should have gone to school, where they could have gone to school. So the cost of the aftermath, no one sits down actually to calculate the cost of the aftermath. It's an incredible cost.
Well, thank you for that perspective, Honorable Kamya. Professor Latigo, how would you characterize the same election?
Well, first of all, I think I should take this opportunity to thank everybody whom we worked with during this election, my constituents in Agago, and many other people who showed tremendous goodwill towards me when the results of the elections were announced that I lost the elections. It gives me strength and comfort that people recognize that I've played some role in the politics of this country. I'm somebody who watches President Museveni very closely. In 2008, when I made a statement in reply to the president, I said in the introductory part that, it was quite obvious when he was delivering his State of the Nation address that year that his mind was not on the state of our nation. His mind was in politics. But I also noticed that the president had a demeanor of a person who knew something that he knows his opponents didn't know. He defined what he would do in this election as far back as 2008. And so we saw unfolding a very illusionary situation of calm. Underneath, there were things happening. And we went into some kind of delusion of democracy. It turned out by the middle of the campaign and towards the elections that this was going to be a sham election characterized by vote buying, blatant vote buying, characterized by tacit intimidation, not only in words, but in our place, for example, they circulated a calendar where the president is the picture with the military uniform and all the guns.
Rambo style.
Yes, and the message was, you elect somebody else, there will be war. And people said, we are just coming out of a war. And so, I don't know whether the NRM